I'm 80 years old, and I need to tell you about the worst deal I ever made. Not the worst business deal. I made plenty of those. I'm talking about the deal I made with America. The one where I traded everything I was for everything I wanted my children to have. And America kept its end of the bargain, every penny. But so did I. What I'm about to tell you might make you angry, especially if you're an immigrant, especially if you're the child of one, because I'm going to tell you the truth about success in this country, the truth nobody puts on the postcards, the truth they don't mention when they talk about the land of opportunity. I came here with $40. I left with nothing. Let me take you back. 1970. I'm 24 years old, standing on the deck of a ship watching the Statue of Liberty get bigger and bigger. And I'm crying, not from joy, from terror, because I don't speak a word of English, because my wife is pregnant with our first child, because I just left my mother standing on a platform in Gdansk, and I knew in my bones I would never see her again. I was right. She died in 1983. I couldn't go back, couldn't afford it, couldn't risk it with the political situation. I got a telegram. My mother was buried without me, but I'm getting ahead of myself. In Poland, I was somebody. My father was a carpenter. His father was a carpenter. I was a carpenter. We built things with our hands, furniture, homes, churches. In my village, people knew the Kowalski name. It meant something. When I walked down the street, old women would say, "There goes Andrzej's boy. Good family, good hands." Here, I was nothing, less than nothing. I was a number in an immigration line. I was a strange accent that made people laugh. I was the guy who couldn't read the menu, couldn't understand the foreman, couldn't help his own son with his first grade homework because the words looked like nonsense. You want to know humiliation? Real humiliation? Try having your 6-year-old correct your English in front of his teacher. Try watching your child's face turn red because his father can't pronounce sounds. Try seeing the other parents look at you like you're stupid. You, who could build a house with your bare hands, who knew geometry and engineering and physics, who read Mickiewicz and Sienkiewicz in the original Polish. But I didn't come here to be comfortable. I came here so my children wouldn't have to feel what I felt, so they would never stand in bread lines, so they would never wonder if the secret police were listening, so they would never have their futures decided by some bureaucrat in Warsaw. I worked. God, how I worked. 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I started as a laborer, carrying bricks for men who couldn't do half what I could do. Then I became a framer, then a foreman. By 1985, I had my own company, Kowalski Construction, 12 employees, then 30, then 60. I put my oldest son through Cornell, my daughter through NYU, my youngest through Michigan. Engineering, business, law, American degrees, American futures, American children. That was the plan all along. That was the deal. I just didn't read the fine print. Here's the moment everything changed for me, the moment I realized what I had actually done. It was Thanksgiving 2015. My whole family was there. All 3 kids, their spouses, my 5 grandchildren. My wife Marta had made everything. Pierogi, bigos, kapuśniak. The foods I grew up with. The foods that taste like my mother's kitchen. And I'm watching my grandchildren push the pierogi around their plates like it's something strange, like it's foreign food. because to them, to these American children with Polish blood in their veins, it is foreign. My granddaughter Emma, she's maybe 10 at the time, she whispers to her mother, "Mom, can I just have the turkey?" And I watched my daughter say, "Sure, honey, you don't have to eat that. You don't have to eat that." Something broke in me at that table. Right there, surrounded by my family, by everything I built, I felt more alone than I did standing on that ship 55 years ago, because I looked around and I realized I don't know these people, and they don't know me. My children don't speak Polish. Oh, they know a few words. Dzień dobry, dziękuję. Party tricks. They can't have a conversation with me in my own language. They can't read my father's letters. They can't understand the songs I sang to them when they were babies. They've never been to Poland, never seen the village where 5 generations of our family lived and died, never stood in the church where their great-great-grandfather carved the altar with his own hands. It's still there. The altar. I've seen pictures. And there's no one left in Poland who carries our name. My grandchildren don't even know they're Polish. Ask them what they are, they'll say American. Maybe part Polish if they remember, like it's a seasoning, a dash of paprika in the melting pot. And their spouses, I have nothing against them. Good people, kind people. But they're not Polish. Their homes don't smell like home. They don't name their children after the saints. They don't cross themselves when an ambulance goes by. I built a company. I built college funds. I built a family that has everything I never had. And I erased us. Here's the lie I believed. The lie every immigrant believes. You can give your children a better life without giving them a different soul. You can plant a tree in new soil and expect it to remember the forest it came from. You can hand down money and education and opportunity, and somehow the important things will just follow automatically. Like inheritance is magic. It's not magic. It's a choice. And I made the wrong one. I was so busy building, I forgot to teach. So focused on what they'd have, I never thought about who they'd be. I worked those 16-hour days so they'd never struggle. And you know what? They never did. They had tutors and summer camps and new cars at 16. But they never had me, not the real me, not the me who could tell them stories about the old country in the language those stories were meant to be told, not the me who could teach them to make pierogi the way my mother made them, with the dough just so, while singing the songs she sang. Not the me who knew the prayers, the holidays, the 1,000 small rituals that make a people who they are. I outsourced their raising to America. And America did exactly what America does, and it made them American. I want to tell you about my father, just for a moment. He never had money, never owned a car, never left Poland. By every measure this country uses, he was nothing. A poor carpenter in a poor village, in a poor country, behind the Iron Curtain. But he knew who he was, all the way down to his bones. He knew the names of his ancestors going back 400 years. He knew the stories, the land, the meaning of his own life. And when he died, the whole village came to his funeral. They carried his coffin through streets he had walked for 68 years. They sang the hymns he knew by heart. They buried him next to his father and his father's father, in soil that held the bones of everyone he'd ever loved. Me, I'll be buried in New Jersey, in a cemetery where nobody knows my name, where the headstone will say Arthur Kowalski, not Artur, the name my mother gave me, because I changed it to fit in, to sound less foreign, to make it easier. Easier for who? My children will be sad when I die. I know they love me, but will they know the hymns? Will they say the prayers? Will they tell my grandchildren who I really was? Not the businessman, not the immigrant success story, but Artur from Łódź, son of Andrzej, grandson of Piotr, great-grandson of Stanisław? Or will I become a photograph in a frame, a story that gets shorter every generation until it disappears entirely? Grandpa came from Poland. He worked hard. The end. I think about my mother. That's who haunts me. She was 51 when I left. I remember her face on that platform. She was trying so hard not to cry. She kept pressing things into my hands. A small icon of the Black Madonna, a packet of letters from my grandmother, a bag of dried mushrooms from the forest near our house. "Don't forget," she said, "don't forget." For years she sent letters. Every week in that beautiful cursive she learned from the nuns. She wrote about the garden, the neighbors, the weather. She asked about the children. She included prayers and recipes and little drawings of flowers. I wrote back when I could, which was never enough. I was so tired, so busy. When she died, I had a box of her letters, over 600 of them. My children can't read a single one. They're in Polish, the language I didn't teach them, the language I was so worried would hold them back. Hold them back from what? From knowing their own grandmother? From reading her prayers for them, written in her own hand? From understanding the woman who gave up her only son so he could build this great American life? I paid for the finest education money could buy. 4 degrees, 3 universities, a wall full of diplomas, and my children are illiterate in the only language that mattered. There's a story I need to tell you about my son, my oldest, Michael. Named after Michał, my grandfather. He doesn't go by Michael anymore. He goes by Mike. Mike Kowalski. Sounds American. Sounds successful. He's a vice president at an engineering firm. Makes 3 times what I ever made. Beautiful house. Beautiful wife. Beautiful children who call me grandpa and ask for ketchup with their kielbasa. A few years ago, maybe 5, I asked him to go to Poland with me. 1 trip. I wanted to show him the village, the church, my mother's grave. I wanted him to stand on the soil of his ancestors. He said, "Dad, I can't take time off right now. Work is crazy." Work is crazy, I nodded. I said I understood. I smiled. But inside, I was back on that platform in Gdansk, watching my mother get smaller and smaller as the train pulled away, feeling the same thing I felt then. I have lost someone who doesn't even know they're gone. He didn't mean to hurt me. He doesn't understand. How could he? I never taught him what it means to have a homeland. I only taught him how to succeed in a country that has no memory. Let me tell you what I've learned. And I don't say this to punish myself. I say it so you don't make the same mistakes. Survival is not the same as living. I survived. I provided. I protected my family from the wolves I knew. Poverty, oppression, limitation. But I didn't see the wolves I didn't know. The ones that come in the night and steal not your money but your soul. Assimilation is amputation. They tell you to fit in, to blend, to sand down the edges that make you different. What they don't tell you is that those edges are who you are. Every word you stop speaking, every tradition you let slide, every "that's too ethnic" you swallow, you're cutting away pieces of yourself, and you're teaching your children that those pieces weren't worth keeping. What you don't teach, you lose forever. I thought culture was like eye color, something that just gets passed down. It's not. It's like a garden. You have to plant it, water it, tend it every single day. Skip a generation and the seeds are gone. Nobody remembers what used to grow there. Money is the easy part. Any fool can make money. Any fool can build a business. But can you build a family that knows where it comes from? Can you give your children a story that stretches back further than their own memory? That's the real work. That's the work I skipped. So what do I want you to do? Especially those of you who come from somewhere else, especially those of you who are raising children far from where you started. Teach them the language. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care if it's not practical. It's not about practical. It's about being able to read your grandmother's letters. It's about having a key to a door you didn't even know existed. Take them home, not on vacation, home. Show them where the family began. Let them touch the stones, walk the streets, eat the food. Let them see that they come from a place that is real, not just a dot on a map. Tell the stories every night, the good ones and the hard ones, the heroes and the fools, the ones who made it and the ones who didn't. Make your children the keepers of memory. It's the most important job there is. Cook the food every Sunday, even if they complain, even if they want McDonald's. Someday, maybe not for 30 years, they'll be standing in their own kitchen, and the smell of something their grandmother made will bring them home in a way no airplane ever could. Keep the traditions, light the candles, say the prayers, celebrate the days your ancestors celebrated, even if nobody else around you does, especially if nobody else around you does. Difference is not weakness. Difference is the only thing worth preserving, and don't be ashamed, not for 1 second, not of your accent, your food, your names, your ways. The people who laugh at these things have nothing of their own to protect. They've already been erased. Don't let them take you too. I'm 80 years old. I've built more buildings than I can count. I've made more money than my father saw in 10 lifetimes. I've given my children every advantage America has to offer. But if I could go back, if I could stand on that ship again, 24 and terrified, I would make a different deal. I would work a little less and teach a little more. I would speak Polish at home even when it was hard, even when the kids complained, even when my wife said it was slowing them down. I would take them to Poland every summer, even if it meant less money for college. I would fill this house with the old songs, the old prayers, the old stories, until my children couldn't escape them if they tried. I would raise Poles who happened to live in America. Not Americans who happen to have a Polish grandfather. It's too late for me. My children are who they are. My grandchildren are growing up in a world where Poland is just a shape on a map. But maybe one of them will find those letters. Maybe they'll learn Polish someday, just out of curiosity. Maybe they'll read what their great-grandmother wrote to them before they were born. And maybe they'll understand what was lost. And they'll decide not to lose anymore. I came to this country with $40 in my pocket. I built everything from nothing. But the most valuable thing I brought with me, the thing that cost nothing, that weighed nothing, that fit in no suitcase, I left on the pier. I thought I could pick it up later. I thought it would be there when I got back. It doesn't work that way. If you learn nothing else from an old man who made it and lost it all at the same time, learn this: you can't go back. But you can stop walking away. If you came from somewhere, hold on to it with everything you have. If you're raising children far from home, build them a bridge every day, every single day, because what you preserve is what survives, and what you let go of is gone forever. I've watched 3 generations of my family become strangers. Don't let anyone tell you that's the price of success. It's the price of forgetting, and it's too damn high. If this reached you today, if you know what it is to come from somewhere and wonder if you're disappearing, I want to hear your story. Drop a comment. Tell me where your family began. Tell me what you're trying to save. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, an immigrant parent, a first-generation child, anyone caught between who they were and who they're becoming, share this with them. It might be the most important thing you do today. Dziękuję. Thank you, and God bless.